here's a this is a big story, and we've got some info on it, but Shelley says, what are the advantages of buying a leasehold tenure? So what would be the advantage? And there's a lot of leasehold. Well, I don't know about how many leasehold properties there are on the Big Island, Dylan, but I know there's are there a bunch?
Yeah, so Kamehameha Schools Bishop Estate owns a lot of property, especially rural areas. So on Oahu, Scott can correct me if I'm wrong here, but condos are usually leasehold, right? When you're looking at leasehold properties, you're normally dealing with a condo. On the Big Island, the majority of properties, we do have a few leasehold condos, but the majority of leasehold properties are going to be agricultural type properties, larger acreage, an acre or bigger, where Bishop Estate owns that land and then they lease it out to farmers. And so from an advantages standpoint, the advantage is price, right? You're going to pay 50 to 30% less for a leasehold property than you are a fee simple property. So my advice to somebody considering leasehold, whether it's condo or agricultural, is you got to look at it as a business and just run the numbers, do the analysis on whether or not it makes sense for what you want, because it's not a real estate investment. You're not going to see appreciation over time. The value really goes down as the lease gets shorter. But if you can get a nice oceanfront condo for 30-40% less than you can get a fee simple condo, and you can vacation rent it for 20 years, and you can run the numbers and figure out, okay, I can make this much money over 20 years, and it makes sense as an investment that way, then go ahead and do it. Same thing with agricultural properties. You may be able to figure out what your production is going to be, whether it be coffee, mac nuts, avocados, whatever you're doing, and you kind of have to look at it as how much income is that property going to yield over time, and what are my leasehold costs to purchase? And then there's also lease rent. And in a lot of leases, you have a production percentage that you give to Kamehameha Schools also. So you just got to look at it, run the numbers, look at it like a business. And if that's what you want to do and it makes sense for you, then do it. But if you're looking to build equity, pass it down to your heirs, move up in the future, it doesn't have those same type of advantages.
So the moral of the story here is look at it as a business, run the numbers, and know that, when the lease runs out, you will no longer have this property generating whatever it's generating on it.
And, you're very likely to get, especially on the agricultural properties, if you're caring for it properly, you're following the rules and the terms of the lease, you're very likely to get it renewed. But again, you have to act like you have to plan that you're not going to get it renewed, and what are the implications of that. So
correct. So you gave more of a sort of a positive thing. As Scott, what would you, let's give the counterpoint on there. What would be the disadvantages? Why would you not? So Dylan gave a bunch of reasons and the conditions of why. What would you not get a leasehold property, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is when you buy real estate, you want it to have increasing value or have value over time. You can buy a leasehold property with financing, but you have to have 6 more years left on the lease than the length of the mortgage. So in other words, if you buy a property with a 30-year mortgage that's leasehold, you have to have 36 years left on that lease. The minute you start getting down lower on that lease, now people have to pay cash for it. So the value of that property is going to significantly diminish. And at the end, there's typically reversionary clauses. About 1% of the properties on Oahu are leasehold. So there are not too many of them, and most of them were condos. And they were designed originally to give affordability to people to be able to buy in, because you're not buying the land and you have this finite period of time that you can own it. They originally started at 99-year leases. Problem is they're getting much shorter. My family owns one at Sans Souci where the lease is up in 4 years, where they're either going to renegotiate the lease for a longer period of time, sell the fee to us, where we would own the land at that point and go to fee simple, or we walk away from the unit and turn it over to that landowner, and then you walk away from the money that you put into it.